Welcome back, everybody, to the Jim Rathmann Show. I'm your host, Jim Rathmann. Quick shout out to Podgo Services and Hi Hello Labs in Orlando, Florida. Going to bring to you today update and information pertaining to the Melanie Curtin case. She is set to go back to trial March 9th. As you know, that is coming up here soon. So I want to recap everything for you guys. I also want to bring whatever new information to light for you prior to this March 9th trial. I'll be completely honest with you. I'm shocked we're ever even here for a trial after everything that has been exposed from the first trial and this horrendous case and quite honestly, a miscarriage of justice here. Why do I say that? Well, there's many reasons for it. In the very beginning, when she was arrested in 2020, she was linked to the Denny Perkins, Cynthia Perkins nightmare where children were involved, semen-laced cupcakes. We all know this story, okay? It's disgusting and it's crazy. However, Melanie Curtin had nothing to do with any of that. She was involved in quote-unquote a threesome with Denny Perkins in a previous relationship, and we're going to refer to that other person as the victim, all right? That was happened way back when, but the original crime was 2014, okay? Multiple years later. So why am I saying some of the things that I'm saying? I spent a lot of time as an investigator. I even did a few years worth of investigations there in the state of Louisiana. I know the process. I know how things work. There is a lot of things that stick out to me that truly just do not make sense when it comes to this case. Some of that, okay, comes down to why the victim in this case wasn't charged with being accessory to these actual crimes against children. Why do I say that? She openly admitted that she was involved in, knowing that Denny had a camera on a watch, was recording her daughter, the victim's daughter. He was doing all kinds of inappropriate things, quote unquote grooming. Her friends would come over. She knew of all of this. She even confronted Denny Perkins about this watch camera. And while they were confronted about the watch camera and what he was doing to her daughter, Denny smashed it. He smashed it and he broke it. Also, she has admitted to helping Denny clean up his mess. Remember the whole entire thing I told you about where he ejaculated onto the bed of her daughter and daughter's friend? Well, this victim helped clean that up. At no time was the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office called, was the Attorney General's office called, state police were called, child services, FBI, any one of those agencies that have the ability to investigate. Not one. Yet, she openly admits to being involved, to helping him clean things up, to have all the knowledge of all the things he was doing over the years that she was married to him. Yet, she is not charged. I can probably sit down 100 investigators in front of you right now and go through the whole history of all their cases where we've had to charge people. We've had to charge parents. We've had to charge family members because of their involvement in a crime. She has openly admitted to being involved in some of these crimes. Whether she was, we don't know. She may have been scared of Denny. I get it. But you have an obligation to protect your child, and especially other children involved that come over to your marital home. And yet, these crimes took place and nothing was reported. But to help your husband clean up his mess involving your juvenile child at the time and her friend, and not even reporting it, you are an accessory to that crime. So why wasn't she charged? Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens when she gets on the stand here in 2 weeks, because very well might be that it comes out that maybe she was promised, maybe she doesn't want to testify. She's being forced. It's my opinion, but I believe she is being forced to testify, just like some of the other victims that were involved that wanted nothing to do with this case when they were contacted by the Attorney General's office. And yet, those individuals that chose not to be involved in this case because they were actual victims of what Denny was doing back in those days, they had to get attorneys. They had to get attorneys to fight the subpoena because they were being told, from my understanding, they didn't have a choice but to testify. And they had to go spend money out of their own pocket to get attorneys to get them away from it because it wasn't worth them being in the public light. Some of them are married now. Some of them have children now. Their lives have moved on from this. They don't want that dark cloud following them everywhere they go. So I bring all this to you for a reason. It's going to be very interesting to find out if this victim is being forced for her testimony against Melanie because she's not charged with a crime. Was she told, if you don't testify, I'm going to charge you with all these crimes? It should have happened anyway. Why wasn't it? It's a question I hope to find out coming up soon. Because let's not forget, if Melanie Curtin becomes a free woman from all this, is found not guilty, which I believe she's going to be found not guilty, don't think there isn't going to be some sort of civil fallout from all of this. And inside that civil fallout is going to be discovery all over again. And I bet some things are going to come to surface that's going to be pretty alarming to all of you listeners out there. It's going to be alarming to realize what exactly has gone on. Why so hard pressed to get Melanie Curtin? So what's new in this case? I'm going to bring some of this up. They dropped her charges from aggravated rape to simple rape. Now, when she was charged originally, Denny Perkins was charged because for aggravated rape, you needed that 2 persons or more. But in this simple rape, because Denny pled out and he was not charged with this crime involving Melanie. He wasn't. So why would you drop the charges down to simple rape? The reasons you would do that is because Denny's not charged with it, which here we go again. This is the Attorney General's office's play, which is going to be, as long as we drop those charges down on simple rape and we don't charge Denny, we don't have to bring the victim and her then ex-husband's sex life to light. That means the internet search histories, where there is plenty of internet search history, including photos and videos of the said victim playing unconscious. That was a fetish. That was a complete and utter fetish. But if you bring it down to simple rape, maybe we can just keep that out altogether. Once again, exculpatory evidence for Melanie. You got the judge to play along with your little plan the first time through. I don't know how on earth it happened, but it did. All that exculpatory evidence for Melanie Curtin wasn't able to be brought up in her defense. So here's your second attempt at a new trial to try to keep that out. What a shock. But guess what, Attorney General's office? The appeals court and the Louisiana Supreme Court said it all has to come in. So you can try that, but it's not going to work real well. I also wonder how this case is going to turn out now that your star witness in this case, the victim, is going to have to testify publicly. Is going to have to answer questions that you knew about before the first trial. Questions you specifically knew. You knew she was involved in an alternative lifestyle. Other people were involved. She didn't know what was out there at that point. Is there videos out there? Is there photos out there? She doesn't have a clue. But she let you guys know in her own way. I don't know what else is out there, but I've been involved with some things involving other people in their sex life. Yet she went on the stand and testified that she had never engaged in this kind of activity before, ever. But remember then 2005, there was that affidavit and her divorce. And guess what? Even then, she was involved in orgies and swinging. And here we are in Melanie's case. Same type of thing. And you had knowledge. You may not have had knowledge of that affidavit, but you had knowledge that she was involved in an alternative lifestyle. But she still went on the stand. She still testified that she never, ever has done anything like this in her life before. But we now know that that's a complete lie. Why? We have the oral lesson. We have the affidavits. We have the content to know and to prove. And I can't imagine what she's going to go through on the stand, because she's going to get publicly humiliated. She is going to get embarrassed. She is going to get impeached with her statements. And that is not going to look good for you at all. But since Denny Perkins isn't charged with this crime, what if the defense subpoenaed Denny? What if Denny Perkins took the stand and talked about how it was all consensual? We don't know. But how would that play out into your scheme you have going on here of trying to get Melanie in any which way possible? I find it very, very odd how this whole entire case came. What you thought was going to be a prosecution and a feather in your cap is now turned into be a major thorn in your side. Because they have fought back. Information has been discovered. It is being aired out, and it's going to be aired out publicly in just a few weeks from now when this trial starts. I do believe Melanie's going to be found innocent. And there's a lot of reasons behind that. But when your star witness is known to lie, and your star witness, I'm assuming, was promised that she wouldn't be prosecuted because that's how it works. I can't see any other reason around it. You specifically continue to go after and target this woman who was a mother to a couple of boys who have lost their father along this process. She has lost all her financial means. You're talking hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal defense. She can't work. She's been run out of the state, death threats. Even the bail bondsman had death threats that bond her out originally. Why? Because the media, from your giving them the information, tied her to being involved with Denny and Cynthia Perkins with the kids. She had nothing to do with the kids. But that isn't what hit the media. How is it? How is it that the media knew to be present on a cruise ship? All that, I'm quite certain, will eventually be discoverable in some upcoming civil suits. It's going to happen. I can't see any other way around it. She rightfully so. And I think she has every right in the world to come after all those that have accused her, dragged her name through the mud, and made her life a living hell. Her children's life, a living hell. Her fiance's life, a living hell. Everything around the whole family of the Curtin family, period, has been dragged through the mud repeatedly. Yet we still want to continue to prosecute. Yes, if you show the video, the 17-minute long video, from what I gather, I haven't seen it, but from those that have, specifically a juror member in her last trial described it for everybody. Yeah, I'm certain that 17-minute video is probably horrible if you watch it just from a video and not know the role playing behind it, not knowing that it's a fetish, not knowing that there's hundreds of thousands of photos and videos of the same victim playing the exact same manner, role playing the exact same way. Yeah, I'm quite certain a video would look bad if you don't know the history to it. And you did everything possible to ensure everything that this woman didn't get a fair trial. You got all the exculpatory evidence withheld. You had the judge in your side pocket. That's what it looked like. That's what it appeals. He was found to have abused his authority 7 times. 7 times in the original court proceedings when it went to the appellate court. 7 times. Now, I understand that Judge Abels was new to being on the bench back then. This was a big case. I get it. But I am quite certain that now it's not going to be as easy for you, for the Attorney General's office, to go ahead and get everything that you need, because I think Judge Abels has caught on. I think he's gained his years of experience since the original trial. And I hope for a fair and impartial case here. I hope that Melanie Curtin gets a fair shot. But in order to have a fair shot, things have to be able to be ruled upon correctly, and everything needs to be brought to light. I don't understand what it is that you apparently think you've got and you see that you can continue on. We have called it out time and time again. It's going to be super interesting. I'll tell you that. I am waiting to see what happens when the victim has to take the stand for the first time and the onslaught that's going to be to follow, because I can guarantee you these attorneys are going to eat her alive. Why? Because they have all the proof of the lies, all of it. And it's all going to come out. And you can try all you want to keep the previous sex life of her and her husband at that time out of it, but you can't, because the appeals court said differently. Same with the Louisiana Supreme Court. I don't know what uphill battle you think you're going to win here, but it's not going to be pretty for you. And quite honestly, I think it's disgusting that if you actually had the knowledge, so what I understand with these pretrial interviews, that your star witness knew and let it be known that she was involved in this alternative lifestyle, and you still had her go up on the stand and testify that she's never done anything before, all to get the conviction to put somebody away for life. And you wonder why people don't trust our court systems? It's things like this. And that's my opinion. But I do think it brings a lot of distrust. Honor and integrity is a very big thing. Prosecutorial misconduct here, maybe just a little bit. I think it's a gross overreach. And let's not forget, too, here in the first trial, the jury instructions weren't really explained as well as they probably should have. The jury didn't even know that they could lower the charges to something else. You not to mention all the jury members, the banging on the walls, the threats of violence, even writing a note and underlining it twice. We cannot come up with a verdict. All that was there. All of it. It wasn't a hung jury. Go back in there and deliberate some more. And yeah, I get it. Judge can do that. That's fine. But a woman was found guilty for aggravated rape, sentenced to life in prison without the chance of parole. And multiple judges in the appeals court and Louisiana Supreme Court see it completely and utterly otherwise. Because when you take all the evidence and the evidence that wasn't allowed in, the exculpatory evidence, this case is completely different. Completely different. So it's going to be quite interesting to see what happens here. But I do believe she's going to be found not guilty. I do believe that you guys bit off a hell of a lot more than you can chew, and it's about to all come to light. And you know it as well as I do. And all those listening right now, you guys can be a judge for yourselves. But pay attention to what happens in this case. Pay attention to the information that's given and the information and the massive scramble to try to keep exculpatory evidence out. Anyone can paint a narrative of somebody, but there's always two sides to a story. You have all the facts that have to come together. And that's how you end up finding out what the reality is of a case. You can't just withhold it. You can't just make it to where it's almost impossible for somebody to have a defense like her first trial. Luckily, through good attorneys and good work and reading transcripts and going through all the documents, that we realized the game that you guys have played and everything that you try to do to keep it withheld. I do believe you know deep down inside Attorney General's office that your case here is an uphill battle. And I don't think you're going to win it. And I think the civil fallout that's to come is going to be huge. And I think the amount of discovery that's going to be coming from all that is going to be big. Melanie deserves better. The citizens of the United States and those, especially in the state of Louisiana, deserve a little bit better. You will see This case is hogwash through and through. Melanie Curtin didn't do anything with any kids. If anything at all, she's actually the victim. She's the victim. I mean, when you have a husband and wife communicating by text message about how you want to get Melanie involved in a threesome with you guys, you plot it, you convince her to come over late at night, even with her son, even though she's already refused a few times, and you get her over there and you obtain your objective, who just so happens to be role-playing the same way you guys do with your sex life all the time. This is for the victim and Denny. Pillow over your face, towel over your face, shirt over your face, playing dead. That's a fetish that Denny had. It is all over his search history, all over it. Plenty of photos, other women involved in the photos doing the same exact thing. That is an absolute fetish. And yet, a woman went to jail behind bars for the rest of her life without the possibility of parole, of information that you even knew could help exonerate her. No shot. But now it's going to be completely different. I hope you guys come to your senses. I hope you don't put these people through all of this pain all over again. I really do. I hope Melanie is a free woman. I believe she's going to be. In my heart of hearts, I really do. And for the victim out there, the fact that you've put your head in the sand and have yet to come out and say anything, correct the wrong that you know has been done, knowing that you lied on the stand during the original trial, which got somebody life, was all to protect your own butt. That's all that was. And now you're not going to have that opportunity. Now you're going to have to answer for why you did what you did, what was promised to you, how this all came about. It's wrong. It's an injustice. Melanie Curtin needs to be a free woman. And I think she has the right legal team that's going to push forward and is going to win this case for Melanie. And I will say this too, because I know that the previous attorney that Melanie had, I don't remember his last name at the moment. I just know the first name is John. He actually did a good job, and he's got a lot of heat. He's taken a ton of heat over what happened in Melanie's case. But what did you expect the man to do? Everything that he pushed to help get that exculpatory evidence brought to light was shot down. Every single bit of it. He was in a losing battle. He tried his best. But now, thank God for appeals courts, because all of that was able to be put into an amazing brief, and even a lot of credit goes out to Melanie's appeals attorney, Julie Tizard. She put together a good piece for the appeal and put all the facts together. And guess what? They saw it the same way the rest of us do. What is actually the truth? What actually happened? I hope come March 9th, Melanie Curtin is a free woman. I hope you guys pay attention. I hope you tune in. Look at the evidence. Be the judge for yourself. Get all the facts, not just one side of it. Again, to the victim, I hope you come to your senses before March 9th. And if it's going to be something when you get on that stand. I know that. And to the Attorney General's office that knew what was happening, knew the play, leaking things to the media, go ahead and making sure you keep exculpatory evidence out, thinking you can just drop the charges down and keep it all out, all the sex life stuff out. Nope. It's all coming in, all of it. Now let's see what happens with your case now that all the facts can be laid out on the table. Let this case happen fairly. And by gosh, don't put everybody through this whole entire case and drag everyone through the mud through this entire thing if you already know you're in the wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the facts of the case. I appreciate you listening. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to be back again with another special guest next week. Some more interesting topics. Like and subscribe to the Jim Rathmann Show. We're on YouTube, Apple, iHeartRadio, Spotify, even our Patreon group. Come on. I'd like to be able to have a one-on-one discussion with you. I get on the Zooms. I like to be a very interactive person, so let's do it. Like and subscribe to us. Again, shout out to Podgo, Hi Holo Labs, and we will see you next week. Have a good one.